In the Apology of Socrates, written by Plato, Socrates addressed the court before being sentenced to death. Contemplating the nature of death, he presented two possibilities regarding the afterlife. One possibility excites him, which is the migration of the soul into another existence, where he could engage in dialectic inquiry with great heroes and thinkers of the past. The other possibility is not as fun as the first one, but he also accepts with equanimity. That is, death is a state of complete cessation of consciousness, akin to a deep dreamless sleep. This ancient perspective resonates with modern exploration of eternal oblivion, also known as non-existence or nothingness, predominantly associated with religious skepticism, secular humanism, nihilism, agnosticism, and atheism. The concept posits that consciousness forever ceases upon death, kind of like being stuck in a staff meeting that lasts forever with no chance of coffee. Actually, that analogy might be totally wrong. Still, it highlights the profound and unsettling nature of eternal oblivion. In this state, personal experience and awareness cease entirely, leaving behind nothing but an infinite, unbroken silence devoid of any sensation, thought, or consciousness. The good news is, you won't actually experience it when it arrives. That's why the everlasting staff meeting analogy is not true. So let's talk about this concept. So, what is eternal oblivion? Eternal oblivion, also referred to as non-existence or nothingness, is the philosophical, religious, or scientific concept of one's consciousness forever ceasing upon death. According to most modern neuroscience theories of consciousness, the brain is the basis of subjective experience, agency, self-awareness, and awareness of the surrounding natural world. When brain death occurs, all brain function forever ceases. Thus, death leads to nothingness, aka eternal oblivion. So to better understand this concept, I think it will be useful to talk about some philosophical context of eternal oblivion. So, what are some philosophical contexts of eternal oblivion? There are many philosophical contexts that explore the concept of eternal oblivion. Here are some of the most representative ones. 1. Materialism and Physicalism. Many neuroscientists and neurophilosophers, such as Daniel Dennett, believe that consciousness is dependent upon the functioning of the brain, and death is the cessation of consciousness. Scientific research has discovered that some area of the brain, like the reticular activating system or the thalamus, are necessary for consciousness because dysfunction or damage to this structure cause a loss of consciousness. For example, neuroscientist V.S. Ramachandran has extensively studied the brain and its relationship to consciousness. He argued that consciousness arises from neural process and that damage to specific brain regions can drastically alter one's perception and sense of self. Ramachandran's research on phenomena such as phantom limbs and synesthesia demonstrates the brain's crucial role in shaping conscious experience. Similarly, Japanese neuroscientist Kimachiro Mogi supports the idea that consciousness is a product of brain activity. Mogi's work emphasizes that consciousness is an emergent property of complex neural network, and that understanding the brain's intricate working can unravel the mystery of conscious experience. He posits that the cessation of brain function results in the end of consciousness, aligning with the materialist perspective. Through a naturalist analysis of the mind, it is regarded as being dependent on the brain, as shown from the various effects of brain damage. 2. Epicureanism and classical philosophy. Ancient Greek philosopher Epicurus suggests that death should not be feared because it is simply the end of sensation and experience. According to Epicurus, when we are alive, death is not present, and when death comes, we are not there to experience it. This perspective can make the idea of eternal oblivion less frightening. 3. Existential nihilism. Existential nihilism posits that life has no intrinsic meaning or value. In this context, eternal oblivion underscores the belief that existence is fleeting and ultimately meaningless, which can lead to a focus on creating personal meaning and purpose during one's life. Existential nihilism asserts that life lacks inherent meaning, purpose, or value, and that the individual must create their own sense of purpose within a seemingly indifferent universe. The concept of eternal oblivion complements this philosophy by highlighting the impermanence and finality of human existence. When one accepts that consciousness ceases entirely upon death, it reinforces the idea that life is transient and devoid of any preordained purpose. This acknowledgement can be both liberating and daunting. On one hand, it frees individuals from the fear of afterlife and constraint of seeking external validation or rewards. On the other hand, it places the burden of meaning-making squarely on the individual, necessitating the creation of personal significance in a life that will inevitably end in nothingness. Existential nihilists might find solace in the notion of external oblivion, as it removes the pressure of an eternal judgment and underscores the importance of living authentically and fully in the present moment. 4. Existential angst and authenticity. Existential angst, or existential anxiety, refers to a profound sense of dread and uncertainty about the meaning and purpose of life in the face of inevitable reality of death and non-existence. This concept is closely associated with existentialist philosophy, particularly the work of Jean-Paul Sartre and Martin Heidegger. Jean-Paul Sartre's take on eternal oblivion. Jean-Paul Sartre, a leading existentialist thinker, argued that the realization of one's impending death and the subsequent non-existence can lead to a feeling of nothingness or nausea. This confrontation with the void forces individuals to recognize the absurdity of existence and the absence of inherent meaning or purpose in life. According to Sartre, this awareness is crucial for achieving authenticity. Sartre believes that authenticity involves accepting the freedom and responsibility to create one's own meaning and value. By acknowledging the reality of death and the lack of preordained purpose, individuals can liberate themselves from societal norms, expectations, and self-deceptions. This freedom allows them to make choices that genuinely reflect their own desire, belief, and values, rather than conforming to external pressures. Martin Heidegger's take on eternal oblivion. Martin Heidegger, another influential existentialist philosopher, explored the concept of being toward death in his seminal work, Being and Time. Heidegger posits that an authentic existence requires an active engagement with the inevitability of death. He introduced the idea of Diem, which refers to the human condition of being aware of and concerned with one's own existence. Heidegger argued that individuals often fall into the state of inauthenticity, where they distract themselves from the reality of death through everyday routines and societal conventions. To live authentically, one must confront the anxiety of death and embrace it as a fundamental aspect of existence. This confrontation can lead to a deeper understanding of one's own being and more meaningful engagement with life. For example, if an individual recognizes the inevitability of their own death, they might prioritize activity and relationships that genuinely matter to them, rather than conforming to societal expectation or engaging in superficial pursuits. They might choose to spend more time with loved ones, pursue passion and hobby that bring true fulfillment, or make career choices that align with their personal values and goals. Confronting the anxiety of death can also lead one to live more in the present moment, appreciating the fleeting nature of life and finding meaning in everyday experiences. In essence, embracing the reality of death can transform one's approach to life, fostering a sense of urgency and purpose that enhance overall well-being and authenticity. By accepting the reality of eternal oblivion, individuals can find the courage to live more authentically. The acceptance frees them from the fear of eternal judgment or an afterlife, allowing them to focus on the present moment and the intrinsic value of their experiences. It encourages a genuine engagement with life, fostering a sense of purpose derived from within rather than imposed from external sources. In the face of eternal oblivion, individuals are compelled to create their own meaning and purpose. This process involves a continuous and conscious effort to define what is truly important and valuable in one's life. It required an honest assessment of one's desires, goals, and relationships, and a commitment to living in a way that reflects this personal truth. Okay, I don't know about you, but after reading this pretentious philosophical talk, I still find the concept of eternal oblivion very depressing. So, how to cope with eternal oblivion? There are many ways you can cope with eternal oblivion. Here are some useful ones I found. 1. Symbolic immortality. Ernest Becker, in his seminal work, The Denial of Death, delves into the profound psychological mechanism humans employ to cope with existential dread of mortality. Becker posits that the fear of death is a fundamental driving force behind human behavior, influencing a wide array of cultural, societal, and individual actions. To mitigate this pervasive fear, humans seek symbolic immortality, a concept where they create lasting symbols and legacy that transcend their physical demise. According to Becker, these symbols can take many forms, such as works of art, literature, scientific achievement, or even progeny. By contributing to culture and society in meaningful ways, individuals embed a part of themselves into the collective memory, ensuring their essence endures beyond their lifetime. This pursuit of symbolic immortality provides a sense of continuity and significance, allowing individuals to feel that they are part of something greater than themselves. Becker's exploration highlights how cultural and creative endeavors serve as psychological buffers against the terror of death. By leaving behind symbols that future generations will remember and cherish, people create narratives that link them to the ongoing story of humanity. This quest for lasting impact, Becker argues, is a universal human endeavor, driven by the intrinsic desire to achieve immortality through the legacy we left behind. One quote from an ancient Chinese writer in Jin Dynasty, Wang Xizhi, specifically from his famous piece Lanting Jishi, aka Preface of the Orchard Pavilion, exemplifies this concept very well. In this prose essay, he stated, quote, "The joy we had just a moment ago has become a thing of the past in the blink of an eye. And yet one cannot help but feel a sense of melancholy. How much more so when life and death follow their own course, and the end comes to all." The ancient said, "Life and death are significant matter indeed. How can we not feel sorrow? Whenever I read the writing of those before me, I feel as if I understand them deeply and can't help but lament. Therefore, I have recorded the name and writings of the people of this time, even though time has changed, to express our feelings, which remain the same. Those who read this in the future will surely feel moved by these words as well." End quote. This reflection on recording and preserving the essence of human experience underscores the timeless human pursuit of symbolic immortality. 2. Hedonism and Carpe Diem. The hedonistic philosophy, which roots in ancient Greek thought, suggests that pleasure and enjoyment are the primary or most important intrinsic good and the end of human life. The phrase Carpe Diem, seize the day, popularized by Roman poet Horace, encouraged people to embrace the pleasure and opportunity of the present moment. The approach advocates for finding joy and satisfaction in everyday experiences, fostering a sense of fulfillment and counteract the fear of future oblivion. This philosophy resonated with the sentiment expressed in the 19 Ode poem, a collection of classical Chinese poems from the Han Dynasty that explore the theme of life, death, and the passage of time. One particular poem, A Life of Less Than 100 Years, conveyed a similar message as follows, quote, "Life spent not even 100 years. Yet we always harbor worries lasting 1,000. Since the days are short, while the night are long, why not hold candle to enjoy the night? One should make merry while the time allows. How can one wait for the future? The foolish cherish wealth, but are only ridiculed by posterity. Even there were immortal like Wang Ziqiao. Is the life spent beyond our reach?" This perspective emphasizes the enjoyment and satisfaction of the present moment, reminding people to seize the joy of the moment since life is short. It advocates for timely enjoyment and warns against the fear of unknown future, encouraging an appreciation for the fleeting pleasure of life. 3. Living in the present. Eastern philosophy, particularly Buddhism and Taoism, have long advocated for living in the present moment. In Buddhism, mindfulness sati is a central practice that involves fully experiencing and present without attachment or aversion. The Zen Buddhist concept of just this emphasizes total engagement with the current activity, whether it is eating, working, or resting, thus finding profound meaning in the simplicity of the moment. Taoism, with its principle of wu-wei, effortless action, also encourages living in harmony with the natural flow of life, being fully present in each activity without forceful striving. Modern psychology also supports the benefit of living in the present for mental health and well-being. Positive psychology, as explored by figures like Martin Seligman, highlights the importance of savoring positive experiences and practicing gratitude. Mindfulness-based therapy, such as mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, and acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, have demonstrated that focusing on the present moment can reduce stress, anxiety, and depression, leading to a more fulfilling life. 4. Understand Eternal Oblivion actually cannot hurt you. Thomas Clark, the founder of the Center for Naturalism, explored the concept of death in the paper titled Death, Nothingness, and Subjectivity, published in 1994. Clark critiqued the common depiction of eternal oblivion as a plunge into darkness. He argued that when people include a non-religious individual envision their own death, they often imagine a future self experiencing perpetual silent darkness. This, Clark asserts, is a misconception because the absence of consciousness precludes any awareness of space or time. Darkness, as an experience, necessitate consciousness to perceive it. In true oblivion, there is an absence of experience altogether, for experience requires the presence of subjective self. Neuroscientist Giulio Tononi supports this view by emphasizing the centrality of consciousness to our existence. He states, consciousness is all we are and all we have. Lost consciousness and, as far as you are concerned, your own self and the entire world dissolve into nothingness. End quote. For both Clark and Tononi, the cessation of consciousness signified the complete dissolution of subjective experience, underscoring the profound nature of death as an absolute end to individual perception and awareness. Conclusion: the concept of eternal oblivion forces us to grapple with the essence of existence, the elusive meaning of life, and our reaction to our inevitable demise. Sure, it's a terrifying notion that can induce a full-blown existential crisis. But hey, at least we don't have to worry about taxes or Monday morning forever. Embracing the idea of eternal nothingness can actually help us make the most of our fleeting time here, pushing us to create a life worth remembering. After all, if we are all just hurtling toward the void, we might as well leave behind something that makes people think, well, at least they try. So here we go. If you want to learn more about the topic I shared today, you can check out the further reading list in the description. And if you want to learn more random knowledge, please subscribe. I'm Shou from What People Also Ask. See you next time.